Are you thinking about getting into property, but you feel completely overwhelmed by the jargons? You're not alone. I'm breaking down the nuts and bolts of becoming a first-time landlord in the UK without the confusing textbook talk. Whether you are looking for a side hustle or something for your long-term retirement, we're keeping it simple. We'll talk about exactly how much cash you need, what LTV actually means, how banks calculate your mortgage, and the golden rules of picking the right house. Property is an amazing vehicle for wealth, but it's a business, not a hobby. So let's get your systems set up the right way. Everyone loves the idea of passive income. You buy a house, rent it out, and the money just starts rolling into your bank account while you sleep, right? Well, let's be real, it's not quite that simple. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I run a property company alongside a few other businesses. And today we are stripping away all the confusing jargons and we're sitting down and have a straightforward everyday conversation about how to actually become a first-time landlord in the UK. No fluff, just the facts, the numbers and the systems you need to succeed. If you want to know how to get into the property ladder without making the expensive rookie mistakes that catch everyone else out, then stick around. Let's get into it. Is property right for you? First things first, is being a landlord actually right for you? It's a marathon, not a sprint. To even get started in buy-to-let, you need a chunk of cash. When we talk about deposit in property, you constantly hear the term LTV or loan to value. This is just property jargon for how much the bank is willing to lend you generally. High street lenders would normally offer you 75% LTV mortgage. So if a house is £100,000, the bank would lend you £75,000 and you would need to put down 25% deposit, which is £25,000. Now, in recent years, we have seen 80% LTV product in the market. This means you would only need a 20% deposit. But here is a catch. These are not your normal high street banks or lenders. These will be specialist lenders. And because they are taking on more risk to lend you the money, they would usually charge you a slightly higher interest rate. And they are likely to also slap you with an arrangement fee. And what is an arrangement fee? An arrangement fee is exactly how it sounds. It's what the bank charges you to set up the mortgage. It's one of those fees I like to call, well, we charge it because we can. They would usually add it to the mortgage loan. But remember, you'll be paying interest on that arrangement fee for the lifetime of the loan. That's if you add it to the loan. And alongside your deposit, you need cash for your legal fee and the 3% stamp duty surcharge on second homes and a rainy day fund. What happens if your boiler just decides to pack up in the middle of winter, or when the property is sat empty for a month? You need to be financially resilient to be able to handle such unforeseen expenses. Finding your first investment property. When it comes to finding the right house, you have to take the emotions out of it. You're not buying a house to live in, you're buying a little business, and this involves cash. And before you even start looking at houses, you need your team in place. And you need to know the players in the game. You need a broker. Their role is to scout the market and find you the best mortgage product. Don't just go to your personal bank. Use a whole of market broker. You need a solicitor. Their role is to do the legal heavy lifting. They check the title deeds, they do all the local searches, and they make sure you actually know what you're paying for and why you're paying that rate. And you also need a lender. This is a bank who will give you the money, the rest of the money. You need an estate agent who are the middleman between the vendor, who is the person selling the house, and the solicitor. And once your team is ready, now you need to find the houses. Most people will go to an online portal, like website like Rightmove, Zoopla, On The Market, Gumtree, Open Rent. These are where 90% of properties are listed for sale. However, when you get more experience in property, you hear the term D2V, which is direct to vendor. This is an advanced strategy where you bypass the estate agent entirely and deal directly with the homeowner and ask them if they want to sell. And why do people do this? Because they're looking for properties that are below market value, which is BMV. So if a house is worth, for example, £100,000, and you can buy it directly from a motivated seller for £85,000, you just made yourself a £15,000 profit or equity from day one. Now let's look at the numbers. Yield versus ROI, return on investment. When you're looking at these properties, how do you know that this is actually a good deal? You need to understand the basic maths and equation. Yield and ROI. Yield tells you how much rent you get each year compared to the total purchase price of the house. Here is the formula. Annual rent divided by purchase price times 100. So if you buy a house for £100,000 and it rents for £6,000 a year, your yield is 6%. Easy. Average UK yields are around 5%, but you can find 7% in some areas. But yield doesn't tell you the whole story. What you really care about is ROI, return on investment. I like to call it return on cash invested. This tells you how hard the cash you actually pulled out of your pocket is working. Here is a formula. Annual profit divided by total cash left in the deal times 100. Your total cash left in the deal is your deposit plus your stamp duty plus your legal fees plus any money you spend refurbishing the property, broker fee, and everything else. If you spend £30,000 of your own cash into buying and fixing up the house, and after paying the mortgage, letting agents, insurance, you make £3,000 a year in pure profit, your ROI is 10%. If your return on investment beats what your money would make sitting in a savings account, you're onto a winner. So individual versus limited company structure. Okay, let's talk about the biggest question beginners ask. Do I buy the house in my own name or do I set up a company? Because there's a tax rule called Section 24 that changed everything. And over 70% of landlords are now using what's called an SPV, a special purpose vehicle. Is simply a standard limited company set up for the sole purpose of holding property. The good news is companies pay corporation tax 19% or up to 25% depending on when you are investing. Rather than paying 40% income tax, plus the company can also claim that mortgage interest payment as a business expense. And why does this matter? Back in 2016, a new law came in, Section 24, that meant landlords who's got property in their own name can no longer claim their mortgage interest payment as an expenses. So this meant a lot of landlords are reporting profit when in actual terms they aren't actually making any profit. Because this means if you collect a rent of, let's say, £1,000, the government is saying the whole £1,000 is profit. But pre-2016, what landlords used to do is they deduct the mortgage interest they pay for the mortgage of the property. They deduct that from the rent. Let's say you pay a mortgage of £400. You deduct that from the £1,000 rent you collected, and you would only then declare a profit of, let's say, £600. But since that legislation came into effect, landlords could no longer claim that mortgage interest as an expenses. So a lot of landlords who are already high earners found themselves paying almost 40 to 45% of whatever they collect from their rent as tax. This is madness, but it is what it is, and that came into effect. So that particular action forced a lot of landlords to start buying properties in limited company structure, which means they can not only claim the mortgage interest payment as expenses, they can also expense a whole lot of other things. And they can also reduce their tax liability from maybe a 40 or 45% to just a standard corporation tax, which is between 19 to 25%. But there's a catch. Mortgage for companies have a slightly higher interest rate, and you now also need to pay an accountant to manage a limited company. But if your goal is to buy more than one house over time, then buying in limited company is a smart way to go. And the next one, financing your investment. Getting a mortgage for a rental property is completely different from getting a mortgage for your own home. The bank looks closely at the house itself, which means the rents it generates. They use a calculation called the ICR, interest covered ratio. All this means is that the bank wants to see that your monthly rent easily cover your monthly mortgage payments, usually by 125% or up to 145%. They want to input that buffer in case the interest rates go up. Then you have legal responsibilities and compliance. Now, pay attention to this part. Managing my property company alongside my other businesses taught me one major lesson. Compliance is everything. You are providing a roof over someone's head, and there are over 170 rules you have to follow to keep them safe. Before you hand over the keys, you legally need a yearly gas safety check, an electric safety certificate, ICR, every 5 years. You need an energy performance certificate, EPC, a working smoke alarm, and you must protect your tenant's deposit in a government-backed scheme within 30 days of them moving in. If you mess up the legal side, you can face massive fines, and you might actually lose the legal right to evict a bad tenant. Now, let's talk about property management. Using an agent or self-manage. Should you manage a house yourself or pay a letting agent to do it? An agent would typically charge you between 10% to 15% of your monthly rent to handle all the admin and advertising, viewing, and all the midnight phone calls about a leaking pipe and all sorts of other things. A lot of beginners try to save that 10% and do it themselves. But when you're running multiple units or multiple buy-to-let properties, you have to view everything through the lens of system and the value of your time. Ask yourself, what is your hourly rate? If you manage the properties yourself, you haven't bought an investment. You've bought yourself a part-time job. Pay a good agent, buy back your time, and use that time to look for your next deal or bring in more profits into your business. Finally, let me leave you with this. Being a landlord isn't just about spreadsheets or making money. It comes with a massive social duty and responsibility. And as landlords, we are providing homes for people. We are a crucial part of the society because we supply safe, high quality housing for people who either cannot buy or saving to buy or simply choosing the flexibility of renting. So if you are going to get into this game, do it right. Provide a good product. Treat your tenant with respect and don't be a slumlord. Treat it like a proper business from day one. Build a solid team around you. Get a fantastic mortgage broker, a sharp accountant, and a very reliable letting agent. If this video has helped clear the fog around property investing for you, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more real-world business talk, and jump into the comment section to let me know if you plan to self-manage or use an agent. Keep grinding, keep being professional, and I'll catch you on the next one.